So that would have been near impossible to do on camera. So I have the uprights. I don't know how much you can see of that, like hitting my lighting here. So I just hung it off the bench with this part, the long part, the front part, on the bench, and it was upside down, and I was able to get it done. So now I'm going to do the supports. Now they're still loose. You can see they're still be rotated because I want to install these 90-degree brackets before I tighten up that bolt. So let's see. Oh my god. I don't know about these T-nuts on this setup here, because the T-nuts have to basically go into this channel and they have to stay there while I tighten it. And so if this extrusion is not perfect, it won't grab. Is it grabbing? Nope. So this is kind of the most fiddly part we're up to now. Let's try this again. Okay, so I need this to spin. It's not spinning. Okay. I'm gonna go in there, see if you can see that. I just went in with a flat screwdriver and nudged it sideways, and hopefully that'll be enough to encourage it to grab. It is grabbed, but not perfectly. I'll loosen it again. I'm holding it up tight against the bracket here. Just going to encourage it to spin. Not too bad. Okay, same deal on the other side, but this time the camera's in my way. Let's see if we can make it work. I'm a automotive technician by trade, so working blind is not new to me. Still not my favorite way to work. That grabbed too. Okay, so that's great. These two grabbed. Let's move on to the other side here. Trying not to smash my lighting too much. This is one of the T-nuts that wouldn't stay in. Hopefully it will in this case. No, it's not rotating. So I'm going to grab this, and my flat screwdriver here, also provided in the kit. Just want to sort of coax it to rotate. Seems if it goes about halfway to start with, it'll go the rest of the way. There we go. Trying to center that as much as possible. Same on the other side, but this side didn't have those issues of falling out. Okay, that looks straight. Now I just need to make sure that this is kind of exactly 90 degrees as much as possible. Tighten down these T-nuts. Oh, it did not work. These seem to be much harder to get to spin. Oh, that one grabbed. Okay, good. This one let go. So this is not for the impatient. It is a little finicky. My wife would go nuts. She doesn't have very much patience. Okay, make sure this is still locked in. That's good. Make sure this is all flush. Spin this thing down. One thing I've learned in my years of automotive training is that if something isn't sitting right, don't be afraid to loosen it up, realign it, tighten it back up again. Okay, so it looks like they're both kind of tightened down. And so what I'll do is I'll adjust this and I'll bring you back after. And so step 2 is all done. I had to go back and tighten these things, make sure everything was well adjusted. I may have to loosen them up in the future. This step was not fun, but it wasn't too bad. So a little bit of patience and you'll get this done, not a problem. So now we have the Z-axis in place. A good idea for the future would maybe to get 9mm long bolts and washers. So if you're looking for what parts you should order at the same time as this kit, maybe 4mm by 9mm or 4mm by 10, but they might be a little bit too long, with washers. I think washers would make a big difference here because these heads kind of get annoying because they want to pull through. But if you take your time, looks pretty much set to me, and so we can move on to the next one. Okay, so next they want us to take these two brackets, and I think the goal is to install them at the bottom of the Z-axis here, because these will be the Z-axis motors, and we do that with these 8 M4 by 8mm screws and these 8 T-nuts. And by 8 it's actually 4. I was wondering how that works, so I actually did this wrong, but that's perfect because I get you an opportunity to show you these things. These parts come in plastic baggies, and I've just poured them into these little Tupperwares with a clear bottom, and I flip them over like this, and that allows me to track more easily what parts are where. And because I have fat fingers, it's a little hard to get parts in and out. I just use these little tweezers to get parts out. So I was wondering how I was going to show you guys, like when I was going to show you guys how I do this, and I guess now is the perfect time. Okay, so now it looks like the T-nuts have to be kind of like on that side. So I'm going to put these screws in. These actually fit much nicer than in the aluminum cast brackets there. So these should be a lot easier to install. But again, we're still messing with those T-nuts. So T-nuts so far on some steps were really nice, and on other steps not so nice. I'm also hoping there's another kind of bracket for these stepper motors, because it's only held in by 2, although these brackets are heavy. I'm kind of concerned about the amount of vibration and the amount of force on these motors. I have played with some stepper motors before. They are quite torquey, even these little NEMA 42s, I guess. Okay, so let's see how easy it's going to be to install this. So I'm going to put them in there, so that's good. They don't say how high it actually needs to be installed, so I'm not sure. I'm going to just line it up as it and have it touch the kind of the bottom there, touch the work surface underneath. So that went pretty well, and I can check if this is centered. So they want me to check that, and let's see if I line this up, just kind of sighting down there. 13.5. No, it needs to come a little bit more this way. So I'm going to loosen these off just a touch. They say you have to center this as good as possible. A little bit more. These T-nuts actually do clamp on pretty hard. I don't know how precise you need to get, but I figured I'd be pretty precise. That's about right. these down. And again, I'm not sure how high these are supposed to be. It doesn't say, it says at the bottom, but I'm guessing we're going to figure it out at some point in the near future. Install the next one. I'm going to see if I can bring that more on screen for you. It's hard because my overhead lighting is like directly in the way of the Z-axis. Okay, I'm just going to check this. This one's a little harder to check. It needs to go this way. Just a touch that way. I think close enough will be close enough, but I'm not sure. Again, if I have to change the height of this at all, I'll have to readjust it. But that looks about right to me. So that step was actually fairly simple. So let me get ready for the next step. I need to peel some backing off some acrylic, I'm fairly certain. Bring you back then. Okay, so we are at step 4 here. And I don't need the frame for this, I just need these parts. I need a 2020 piece, 415 mils long. I need these M5 by 35 mil bolts, 4 of them, M5 nuts, 4 of them, 4 of these wheels here, and 4 of these plastic spacers. So it seems to be quite simple. You just take the bolt here, you slide on a wheel, then you slide on a spacer, then you put it through this. Now I don't think it matters which side is which, they seem identical. So I'm going to slide through here and put the M5 nut. I'll do this loosely for all of them, and then I will tighten them all down at the same time. Now I've already kind of cheated, and I've put the there's the carriage for the hot end. I've put it over one of these extrusions, and it felt amazing. Like there was no play, everything was nice and tight, done well, and I'm hoping that once I'm done these wheels, it's going to have the same feeling, like just through here. We will see. Again, no washers. I really don't like the fact that there's no washers on these. I just think spreading the load a little bit would be preferable, but I guess it's just at the cut rate price, and I suppose if you don't go nuts on it, it shouldn't be too bad if you don't tighten it up too much. Seems to be a washer in the middle here. I don't know if you can see, but there's like a washer in the middle. This is the only one that hasn't been aligned so far. I'll just grab my tweezers and see if I can push it out. There we go. Alright, wheel, spacer, spacer. This is much easier, much less finicky than the previous steps, that's for sure. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put our nuts on here. Oops. Okay, and they do give you a little wrench, and it does fit, which is always a good sign. And I'll have to say, this screwdriver they give you isn't bad either. I have my own tools, which are better, but for something that's included in the kit, that's actually fairly nice. There is a bit of play around the holes here, so I'm not sure how well it's going to fit onto the aluminum extrusion, but now is time for the moment of truth. Is this going to be smooth, or is this going to be rough? I guess the only way in really is this way. And here goes. Oh, it's a bit tight. It feels great. There's no wiggle at all in there. That's actually really satisfying. A bit more friction than I anticipated, but again, I guess they'll wear in after enough time going back and forth, and I'm guessing the stepper motors are quite powerful. So that was a pretty simple step. So this is the y-axis. So the bed, I believe, moves this way, back and forth, instead of side to side. I think it's the head that'll move side to side. So the next step, I think, is to secure it to the base. So I'm going to get that ready to go now. Alright, so the next part here, I have the whole 3D printer back in shot. I have, there we go, you can kind of see this sits on top there, right at the very top of your screen. And same deal at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that though. Just barely, I guess. It's really dark. Alright, well, they want you to attach these corner brackets over here. I'm going to see if I can make you some more space so I can move this. My workbench is never entirely clean. There's always whatever I'm working on at the moment. There we go. Okay, so they want you to put these sort of centered, this piece left to right, and same thing at the other end. But they have these special corner brackets. So most of the times these corner brackets have these little notches here, I suppose to guide into the center of the 2020s, but they actually ground down one side of each of these. If you can see it like that, they tell you in the instructions. And so these are ground down so they can sit flat up like this. So again, same deal, we need 4 8mm screws, or 4x8 screws, but I can see the holes in these are even worse. That's terrible. These things will never fit. These holes are giant. So I guess this will be a fight. Not too impressed with the quality of these corner brackets, but you know, it's not this company, it's not the TronXY company who actually makes those brackets. They just get them from whoever, right? And that's the deal. They're not very well quality controlled, and that's why this kit is a little bit harder to assemble than maybe a more notable kit where they check these things out, right? They could have designed it with washers, but again, when you're shopping at the bottom of the barrel, that's what happens. And you know what? It's not that bad. It makes for a bit of a sloppy installation, but once it's together, I really don't see this as being a problem, especially for the price, right? Don't forget, this is 210 Canadian dollars, and if you don't think that's that good of a price, take a look at the conversion rate to US dollars or to euros or to pounds. This is cheap. It really is. Okay, so first and foremost, I'll make sure the flat end is facing my my rail here for my y-axis. Then we're going to put the head into here, and let's see if we can get this trapped in such a way that it grabs this bracket. Not convinced it will. No, look at that. That's terrible. I may actually need to find washers for these, but I don't think these 4mm are actually long enough. Not sure this is gonna work. So this went from not that big of a deal to a pretty fatal flaw if I can't finish up the install. Yeah, look. Now what do I do? I could make a shim, but that's going to be kind of a pain in the butt. Well, I'll think of something and I'll be back.